Hare Krishna. So we are singing this song, Saparshada Bhagavad Viraha Janiti Vilapa, or Yanila Pramadana, in honor of the disappearance of Srila Jagannatha Dasa Babaji. And was it the disappearance or appearance of both disappearance and of Rasika Nanda? And we'll read about them a little bit before the Bhagavatam class. Jayanila Premadana Karuna Prajo Hena Prabhu Kota Gela Acharya Thakur Kaha Mora Swarup Rupa Kaha Sanatan Kaha Dasa Raghunatha Patita Pavan Kaha Mora Bhatta Yuga Kaha Kaviraj Eka Kale Kota Gela Goranataraj Ashane Kodiba Mata Anale Pashiva Goranga Gunera Nidhi Kota Kele Papo Se Saba Sangira Sange Jai Koila Vila Se Sangana Paya Kande Narottama Das Jayanila Premadana Karuna Prajo Hena Prabhu Kota Gela Acharya Thakur Prabhu Kota Gela Acharya Thank you. All right, translation. He who brought the treasure of divine love and who was filled with compassion and mercy. Where has such a personality as Srinivas Acharya gone? Where are my Swarup Damodar and Rupa Goswami? Where is Sanatan? Where is Raghunath Das, the savior of the fallen? Where are my Raghunath Bhatta and Gopal Bhatta? And where is Krishna Das Kaviraj? Where did Lord Gauranga, the great dancer, suddenly go? I will smash my head against a rock and enter into fire. Where will I find Lord Gauranga, the reservoir of all wonderful qualities? Being unable to obtain the association of Lord Gauranga, accompanied by all of these devotees, in whose association he performed his pastimes, Narottam Das simply weeps. All right, so something about Jagannatha Dasa Babaji. Jagannatha Dasa Babaji lived for 100. Does anyone remember? What was that? 25? More. More. No. Yeah.
Actually, they weren't sure. They lost track.
Yeah. So, well over 100 years. Here it says 144, but he took Diksha from Sri Madhusudan Das Babaji and did bhajan worship for many years at Suryakund in Vrindavan. Thakur Bhaktivinoda received valuable instructions on pure devotional service from Jagannatha Dasa Babaji. So Jagannatha Dasa Babaji is there on the altar, the far right, below Shri Radhagiri. His practice was to live 6 months in Navadvip and 6 months in Vrindavan. During his time, said Thakur Bhaktivinoda, Srila Jagannatha Dasa Babaji was the most advanced Vaishnav in Mayapur and Vrindavan and Jagannath Puri. Bhaktivinoda Thakur gave him the title Sarvabhauma, the chief of the Vaishnavas. At 125 years old, his body appeared bent like a semicircle. His eyelids hung over his eyes like heavy stage curtains. Standing on either side, 2 disciples would lift his droopy eyelids so he could offer tulsi manjaris to his deities of Sri Giraj Govardhan. So he had one disciple here and one disciple here, and his eyes were so droopy, so one disciple would lift one eyelid and the other disciple would lift the other eyelid, and then he'd offer tulsi to his Govardhan Shila. Since Jagannatha Dasa Babaji could barely walk, Bihari, his Vrindavan resident servant, used to carry him on his shoulders. But whenever there was a Nam-kirtan, Jagannatha Dasa Babaji would bolt out of his basket and leap 4 feet into the air. So he'd jump out of his basket. Devotees, sometimes they do this, they do a play of this, of Jagannatha Dasa Babaji and the Navadvip Mandala Parikrama that happens in Mayapur. Devotees, thousands of devotees, I don't know what it's up to now, maybe 10,000 or more devotees. They walk all around the holy places of Mayapur, visiting the holy places, and they have kirtans and discussions. And sometimes we went out there. We did the Navadvip Mandala Parikrama, and I remember one time there was a play in which Bhaktivinoda Thakur was there and Jagannatha Dasa Babaji was in the basket, and then they found the birthplace of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So in that play, Jagannatha Dasa Babaji jumped out of the basket, and it's a whole thing, so. He would bolt out of his basket and leap 4 feet into the air. In great ecstasy, he would begin to sing and dance. He performed vigorous worship despite physical limitations. He was fond of chanting loudly in both japa and kirtan. During kirtan, he would sing, "O Lord Nityananda, what a wonderful name you have brought. O Nitai, what a wonderful name you have given." After chanting almost the whole night, the next morning he would offer 1,108 dandavats to the deities. So, like this, offering dandavats. Prabhupada said, good exercise. That's a lot of obeisances. He was always enthusiastic to serve the Vaishnavas. He lived as an ascetic, following a strict diet in the yearly Chaturmasya, 4-month fast. The first month he ate only 4 bananas in the evening. Second month, only guavas. Third month, only whey. Fourth month, only boiled banana flowers without salt. Once he begged a roti, like a chapati, flatbread, from a Vrindavan street sweeper. Hearing about this, the leading men of Vrindavan said to Jagannatha Dasa Babaji, Babaji, you are the crest jewel of Vrindavan. It pains us to hear anyone criticizing you, but now everyone is talking against you. They are saying, Babaji's gone mad. If he defies the age-old traditions, what will happen to society? Babaji Maharaj replied, you are all learned people. Don't you know the importance of the dust of Vrindavan? It is so surcharged with Krishna Prem that even Lord Brahmā desires to become a particle of Raj, dust of Vrindavan. Therefore, isn't a Vrindavan sweeper who is constantly serving the dust, breathing it, rolling in it, and bathing in it more pure than anyone else? Silence filled the air, indicating everyone's acceptance of Babaji Maharaj's reply. While living in Navadvip, Jagannatha Dasa Babaji showed deep respect toward all residents. Even when some puppies ate from his plate, he didn't protest. So he was thinking they're all residents of Vrindavan, so they could, have from my plate. Bihari, his servant, became disgusted to see dogs devouring his guru's prasadam, and he drove them away. Jagannatha Dasa Babaji scolded Bihari. These puppies are residents of the holy Dham. They are not ordinary living entities. I will not eat until they come back to share the Mahaprasadam from my plate. At the age of 142, he couldn't see or walk. To confirm his findings, Thakur Bhaktivinoda requested Jagannath Das to see Lord Chaitanya's appearance place. Intoxicated with Granga Prem, love for Lord Chaitanya, Jagannatha Dasa Babaji leapt high into the air and began chanting and dancing at the discovery of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's birthplace. Out of compassion for all conditioned souls, Jagannatha Dasa Babaji transferred his power of bhajan, knowledge of the Shastras, and Prema Bhakti directly into the heart of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. All right, so these are some instructions he gave, 4 instructions. So Uli, do you think you could transfer a little bit over which one way or the other? Okay, 1. You must avoid women, men who associate with women, or a man who in any way associates with the man who associates with a woman. 2. To realize the supreme goal of life, you must repeat Harinam regularly and steadfastly. Steadiness is so important that it must be maintained even at the cost of one's life. 3. Never forget Lord Chaitanya, who is more merciful and benevolent than Krishna. Krishna is like a just ruler who takes into account your offenses in his administration of justice. Lord Chaitanya does not take your offenses into account. Whereas Krishna is more interested in the dispensation of justice, Lord Chaitanya is more interested in the distribution of mercy. From this point of view, Gaura Kirtan is more useful than Krishna Kirtan. Gaura Kirtan means Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda. 4. Krishna is the avatar of Dwapara Yuga. Lord Chaitanya is the Kali Yuga avatar. We should sing the names and glories of the avatar in whose age we live. Just as in a kingdom we praise the ruling king. Jai Sachinandan, Jai Sachinandan, Jai Sachinandan, Gaura Hari. So yes, he is a great acharya in our line. And his main glory was his pure love for Krishna. And some of the things he's known for is his very austere living, very austere chanting, just like we heard about these 4-month fast. I mean, that's pretty intense. 4 bananas at night. The second month guavas, third month whey, 4th month boiled banana leaves without. So they do that fast every year. and he helped confirm the appearance place of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This is a great Vaishnav. These instructions are these 4 instructions. One, this thing about, he mentions here, you must avoid women, men who associate with women, or with a man who in any way associates with a man who associates with a woman. This can be seen in a fanatical way, but our previous acharyas and the devotees in general, they are not fanatics. They are lovers of Krishna on the highest level of God realization. So when such things are stated here, it is he is mentioning this to indicate the strong illusion that rules the world, and that is the illusion of the infatuation or lust that people have for other living entities based on exploitation, based on them thinking that they're their bodies and thinking others are their bodies. And something that, as we were discussing the other day, literally drags people to hell. And it goes both ways. If you're a woman, a man, and experiencing a woman experiencing lust for a man drags a person to hell. A man experiencing lust for a woman drags a person to hell, or whatever the sexual preference is, homosexuality, whatever. The principle of sex desire is a ruling force in this world that Krishna says is very dangerous. And it's amazing how strong the illusion is. We were in the Krishna lounge the other day, and this guy raised his hand Thursday. And he said, because I mentioned this idea of the 3 modes of nature, goodness, passion, ignorance. And he said, hey, what's wrong with passion? He said, I could understand passion is in a certain way, like maybe if I have, because he was saying, what's wrong with passion? Because I look at romance and I look at passion, and I look at this as like a deeply spiritual thing. So when you say passion, what's wrong with passion? And then he said, well, I mean, I guess if we look at the definition of passion, like, and he gave the example, if I'm very passionate to go run over to McDonald's and enjoy McDonald's, he said I could see how that is maybe not so good. And I joked and I said, oh, it sounds very romantic. So that was more or less his comment or his question, and then I just told everybody, please excuse me. I'm a monk. I joined the temple when I was 18 years old. I've been here for 18. So all due respect, this is from my perspective. And then I just said that, well, when we talk about passion, it's very difficult to translate this, rajagun, to translate into English. We say passion. And as we all know, the English language is very imperfect. And a lot of people have problems with it, especially people who are learning it, second language, as a second language. So I said, yeah, it's a bit difficult to translate things. And I said, just like when we say love, certain words have been hijacked. They mean one thing in the past, and now they mean another thing now. There's a number of words like that. So I said, well, in Sanskrit, there's like for love, there's so many words. There's so many different words. There are different types of love. Whereas in English, there's not so many. And then it takes on different, people, there's different ideas that come when people say that love. So then I said that when we talk about romance, this and that, and I said it's very interesting because a lot of people, by nature, they want to love and they want to be loved. That's natural. But we see that many times their longing for love is frustrated. I mean, people write books about it. People write songs about it. Every other movie's about it. People's broken hearts. Things don't work out. So I said, although they want to be loved and they want to love others, many times it doesn't, if not all times, it doesn't work out how they want it to work out. And there's one article in relation to this that I put together. I put together this slideshow presentation. I titled it "How Walt Disney Ruined Our Love Lives: The Myth of Happily Ever After." I actually took it from some article, but I kind of arranged things in a Krishna conscious way. But it's interesting because you have after every Snow White, this whatever, so many different whatever all the other stories are, and they lived happily ever after. The end, But there's no like, hey, what happened though? Like, what happened throughout their life? There's no, And it's interesting because a lot of these Disney movies, if not all of them, they're all like very dark, intense stories with like it was meant to be like a cautionary tale, like, hey guys, be careful. But Disney took it and turned things around. Anyways. So, and then I was telling him that, and everybody was saying that the real satisfaction, the real love that everyone wants and everyone needs, the need of us, the need of the soul, is that love for Krishna. And as long as one doesn't have that, there's always going to be something missing. And then Tapas and his wife were in the audience, right? They're here now too. So I was looking for somebody who performed an Indian marriage ceremony, and they did, right? Yeah, so part of that Indian marriage ceremony is they take part of the cloth and they tie it, the dhoti or the chadar or whatever, and the sari or whatever, the women and the men, they tie it. And then I was saying how it's interesting because you have this saying in America, they say, oh, they tied the knot, so it must be coming from a Vedic thing, they tied the knot. But then if we look in the Bhagavatam, we see that this attachment, it's said to be like a knot in the heart. It's like a heavy attachment. Specifically what we're talking about. And I was saying, just as you tie the knot, you also need to slash the knot. You need to understand that this type of love or this type of attachment is not the real happiness of the soul. It's there. There's Krishna gives allowance for it according to the scripture, so it's okay. But the real need is that for all people, all men, all women, and everyone to develop their love for God, love for Krishna. So anyways, that's what I told him. I don't know if he was satisfied with that. But so when it mentions here, oh, don't associate, like what is this? Like, I mean, don't associate. Just people think it's like, what? But it's just saying that, that people have to be careful, especially associated with non-devotees, with worldly people. That practically this is what it's talking about, with worldly people, not that it is, the path of entanglement. So, all right. So one thing, just about Rasikananda. Rasikananda Prabhu appeared as the son of a king. He became a perfect sage, scholar, and devotee, and the most beloved disciple of Sri Shyamananda Prabhu. On Shyamananda Prabhu's order, Rasikananda became the head pujari and served his guru's deity of Govindaji with total dedication. His attentive, loving service increased Govindaji's beauty and pleasure. This is an interesting thing. His attentive, loving service increased Govindaji's beauty and pleasure. I remember years ago I was in Vrindavan when we were going to the different temples, and specifically we went to the temple of where Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur's deity is, Radha Gokulananda. So I was there and I was taking darshan of the deity, and I told Tirtha Maharaj, who was with Mahatattva Prabhu at that time, I mentioned to him, I said, "Oh, the deities are so beautiful." And then he said to me, it's an interesting thing, he said, "Oh, it's because the devotees here, they have so much affection for the deities." So then I was thinking about that. I was, "Oh, that's an interesting statement." I was like, "Oh, the affection of the devotees makes the deities more beautiful." But there's statements in Chaitanya Charitamrita like this, where the devotion of the devotees, they increase the beauty of Krishna, and then vice versa. It's like a... So anyways, it's being stated here as well. Rasika Murari enchanted the devotees with his unprecedented deity service. After firmly establishing Govindaji's worship, he accepted Shyamananda's order to preach. He traveled widely for 40 years, influencing everyone with the message of Lord Chaitanya. Rasikananda delivered everyone, from pious royal families to Muslims, outcasts, agnostics, atheists, and even wild animals. One time, some mad elephants attacked Rasikananda. Calmly, he chanted Gauranga, Gauranga, Krishna, Krishna, while sprinkling water on the rampaging beasts. The elephants immediately stopped charging, humbly bowed their heads, raised their trunks, and bellowed, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. So as Prabhupada says, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he went through Jarikhanda forest and he influenced tigers and lions and so many other animals to chant and dance Hare Krishna. He said, we may not be able to do such a thing, and in my humble, right, we shouldn't try. We don't want anybody getting hurt here. But he said we could still try to get humans to chant. But here, Rasikananda, you got elephants, which you don't hear much about this. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did it, and you have Rasikananda. I'm not sure if anybody else. Yeah, initiated. At the time of leaving his body, Rasikananda began a powerful kirtan. Then he left this world by entering into Kirchur Gopinath Didi in Remuna, Orissa. Devastated in separation, his disciples dropped their mridangas, kartals, and their bodies. The Pushpa Samadhis of all these pure devotees stand near the temple. Rasikananda Prabhu's Pushpa Samadhi stands near Shyamananda Prabhu's, near the temple of Radhashama Sundar. So there's some... All right, so we'll just read this verse. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Śrī Śukadeva Evam Gajendram Upavarnita Nirvishesham Brahmadayo Vivada Linga Bidabhimanaha Naite Yudopasarshpur Nikola Makatat Tatraikilamara Mayo Harir Aviryasit Śrī Śukadeva Evam Gajendram Upavarni Nirvisham. Is this okay. Evam Janandram Upavarnita Nirvishesham Brahmadayo Vivadalinga Bidabhimanaha Naite Yadopasar. How do you say that? That's a little challenging one, huh? Naito Yadopasapur Nikolatmakatvat Taitra Kilamaramayo Harir Avirasit Śrī Śukadeva Evam Jagendram Upavarniti Nirvishesham Brahmadayo Vivadalinga Bidamimanaha Naite Yadopasapur Nikolatmakatvat Tatra Kilamaramayo Harir Avirasit
Evam Gajendram Upavarnita Nirvisesham Brahmadayo Vividlinga Vibhavimana Naityado Pashrishpur Nikolatma Kavat Tatra Kilanga Lamada Mayohari Abhirasit Śrī Śukadeva
Evam Gajendram Upavarnita Nirvishesham
Evam Gajendram Upavarnita Nirvishesham
Brahmadayo Vivadalinga Bidabhimana
Brahmadayo Vividlinga
Naite Yadopasapur Nikolatmakatvat
Naite Yadopasapur
Makatvat
Tatlaki Lama Namayo Haviravirasi Śrī Śukadeva
Evam Gajendram Upavarnita Nirvishesham
Evam Gajendram Upavarnita Nirvishesham
Brahmadayo Vividhalinga Bidabhimana
Brahmadayo Vividhalinga Bidabhimana
Naite Yadopasapur Nikolatmakatvat
Naite Yadopasapur Nikolatmakatvat
Tatra Kilamaramayo Hariyavirasi
Tatra Kilamaramayo Hariyavirasi.
All right. Śrī Śukadeva Śrī Śukadeva Gosvāmī said, Evam, in this way, Gajendram, unto the king of the elephants, Gajendra, Upavarnita, whose description, Nirvishesham, not directed to any particular person, but to the Supreme, although he did not know who the Supreme is. Brahma Adayaha, the demigods beginning with Brahma, Śiva, Indra, and Candra. Vivida, varieties. Linga Bida, with separate forms. Abhimanaha, considering themselves separate authorities. Na, not. Ete, all of them. Yada, when. Upasasrapo, who? Approached. Nikla Atmakatvat, because the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the Supersoul of everyone. Tatra, there. Akila, of the universe. Amara Mayaha, consisting of the demigods, who are only external parts of the body. Harihi, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who can take away everything. Avirasit, appeared before the elephant. Translation. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Śrī Śukadeva Gosvāmī continued, when the king of the elephants was describing the supreme authority without mentioning any particular person, he did not invoke the demigods headed by Lord Brahmā, Lord Śiva, Indra and Candra. Thus none of them approached him. However, because Lord Hari is the Supersoul, Puruṣottama, the personality of Godhead, he appeared before Gajendra. Purport. From the description of Gajendra, he apparently was aiming at the Supreme Authority, although he did not know who the Supreme Authority is. He conjectured, there is a Supreme Authority who is above everything. Under the circumstances, the Lord's various expansions such as Lord Brahmā, Lord Śiva, Chandra, and Indra, all thought, Gajendra is not asking our help. He is asking the help of the Supreme, who is above all of us. As Gajendra has described, the Supreme Lord has various parts and parcels, including the demigods, human beings, and animals, all covered by separate forms. Although the demigods are in charge of maintaining different aspects of the universe, Gajendra thought that they were unable to rescue him. Harim vina naiva mrityum taranti. No one can rescue anyone from the dangers of birth, death, old age, and disease. It is only the Supreme Personality of Godhead who can rescue one from the dangers of material existence. Therefore, an intelligent person, to get free from this dangerous existence, approaches the Supreme Personality of Godhead, not any demigod. As confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 7:20, Kamaistastar hirtagyana prapadyante nadevataha. Those who are unintelligent approach the various demigods for temporary material benefits. Actually, however, these demigods cannot rescue the living entity from the dangers of material existence. Like other living entities, the demigods are merely external parts of the Supreme Personality of Godhead's transcendental body. As stated in the Vedic mantra, Sa Atma Angani Yanya Devataha. Within the body is the Atma, the soul, whereas the various parts of the body, like the hands and legs, are external. Similarly, the Atma of the entire cosmic manifestation is Narayan, Lord Vishnu, and all of the demigods, human beings, and other living entities are parts of his body. It may also be concluded that since a tree lives on the strength of its root, and when the root is nourished with water, all the parts of the tree are nourished, one should worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the original root of everything. Although the Supreme Personality of Godhead is very difficult to approach, he is very near to us because he lives within our hearts. As soon as the Lord understands that one is seeking his favor by fully surrendering, naturally he immediately takes action. Therefore, although the demigods did not come to the aid of Gajendra, the Supreme Personality of Godhead immediately appeared before him because of his fervent prayer. This does not mean that the demigods were angry with Gajendra, for actually, when Lord Vishnu is worshipped, all the demigods are also worshipped. Yasmin tushte jagat tushtam. If the Supreme Personality of Godhead is satisfied, everyone is satisfied. Yata taro mula nishchanena tripyanti tat skanda pujopishakaha pranopayarachcha yatendriyanam tataiva sarvaha hanam achuteja. As pouring water in the root of a tree energizes the trunk, branches, twigs, and everything else, and as supplying food to the stomach enlivens the senses and limbs of the body, so simply worshiping the Personality of Godhead, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, through devotional service automatically satisfies the demigods, who are parts of that Supreme Personality. When the Supreme Personality of Godhead is worshipped, all the demigods are satisfied. Om Jnana-timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshulamadithamena Tasmai Śrī Gurave Namaha Mukham Karitavachalam Pangam Mangaite Girim Yat Kipatamaham Vande Śrī Gurun Dinitadana Vancha Kapadabhishya Kipasinivavacha Patidanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Śrivasadi Gaurabhakta Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So Srila Prabhupada came to dismantle or destroy or free everyone from impersonalism and voidism. The idea that there is that God is impersonal, that the goal is to merge into the void. He came to enlighten everyone in this regard, and therefore one of his Mahavakyas, or one of the great statements, or one of the things that defines his mission is Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Not you, not me, not Sai Baba, not Ganesh, not anyone else, but Krishna. He's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That was one of them. And another one was devotional service, which he very expertly translated bhakti. He translated bhakti as devotional service, not simply love or emotion or something like that. Generally, people, they translate bhakti as love or emotion or devotion or something like that. And then you have seva, which means service. Where Srila Prabhupada, he combined devotional service. To making sure that everybody gets the idea. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and you should engage in devotional service. Not that, who's the Personality of Godhead? We don't know, and what is bhakti? We're not really, just love or emotion or something like that. Prabhupada very clearly outlined things. You cannot get any other idea from reading his books. And actually, he criticizes all the other ideas. So who did you grow up worshiping, Tapas? Who? Oh, really? Oh, I never knew that. Interesting. You grew up in the Ramakrishna mission. So who did you worship, though? Oh, Tapas, you're not following your own instructions. You have to use the mic, Prabhu. I'm just joking. All right, Tapas, let's see. Who did you grow up worshiping?
Ramakrishna mission. But my entire family actually was going through them. But my father got a book from some devotee, Back to Godhead magazine. I read it and I really liked it.
Oh, nice. In Bangladesh.
It was a slap on my face, actually.
Bangladesh. But who were you worshiping growing up? Like what god?
So many gods. Like sometimes Mother Kali, sometimes
Mostly Kali
Ganesh,
worship a lot, is right, with Ramakrishna.
sometimes Ganesha, sometimes Lakshmi Devi.
Okay, so many. Okay.
Sometimes this Baba, that Baba.
Okay, so many. Okay. Aviral, who did you worship? I have a guess, but because he grew up in Varanasi.
I used to go to Hanuman temple because it was nearby. So yeah, most of the time Hanuman. Yeah.
Also Shiva, though.
My father is a Shiva devotee.
Yeah, your father's a Shiva Bhakta.
But I was mostly
Okay.
connected.
Yeah, there's something, I believe Bhaktivinoda Thakur, or it was mentioned here the other day, but we have to find some reference. But apparently in Varanasi, what happens when somebody leaves their body, is it in Varanasi that, it's not that, they say Lord Shiva, he comes, and he chants the name of Ram in the ear. Right? Because the idea is that is what liberates one, the name of. What about you, Uli? Who did you grow up worshiping? Jesus Christ? Okay, that's good. Better than Mickey Mouse or Donald Duck or... All right, Jesus Christ. Okay. So yeah, people, they grow up worshiping different beings, depending on where they are in the world. A lot of people from India worship different demigods. A lot of people from America worship Jesus Christ. A lot of people worship money. There was one guy, he said, "Oh, God, he's not this color, he's not that color, but God is green," right? And then when devotee said this, I was thinking to myself in the audience, oh, like Ramchandra, because Ramchandra is like a greenish. But he's saying God's green money. So everyone is worshiping someone, and as one great American sage said, you got to serve someone. That might be this person or that person or whatever, but you have to serve someone. We have to serve someone. We can't get around it. So, all throughout the Bhagavatam and the scriptures, Krishna is said to be the one we should worship, and there's many wonderful reasons why we worship Krishna. Most merciful personality, and so on. And that's demonstrated through his liberation of Putana. And so, if we worship Krishna, all the other demigods are satisfied. So no need to worship all the demigods, but just worship Krishna, and we will achieve perfect success. And Krishna, as Prabhupada says here, he's in our heart. He's very near to us because he's living within our heart. And as soon as he understands that we're seeking his favor by fully surrendering, naturally he immediately takes action. So just as Gajendra, he was there in a very difficult circumstance. And he was sincere, and Krishna came. So if we call out to Krishna, Krishna will appear in our lives, and he will direct us. If we don't call out to Krishna, then we're directed by Maya, or we're just in the modes of material nature and illusion. So we should try to, as far as possible, be sincere and serious, and always look for Krishna's direction in our lives. Like one of the 4 questions that Vaisheshika Prabhu asked in his new book, the 4 questions, one of them is, what can I learn from this? Versus so many other things, like, how can this be happening to me, or like, what, whatever. But what can I learn from this? So we should see everything as a learning, try to see things as a learning experience. All right, so we'll stop there. Does anybody have any question? Or yes, go right on. Who did I worship growing up? It definitely wasn't any demigods. I had no knowledge of demigods whatsoever. I actually never even thought of India. I mean, surprise, surprise, they say that Americans are some of the worst in geography. You ask them, where is New Zealand? So, is that like, where's that? But I never thought of India. I actually didn't have much experience of Indians at all, as far as I remember. There weren't, where I was living, there was a lot of people, Hispanic people, and African American people, and this and that, different ethnicities. Somehow or other, we didn't really have any Indians in our school. And I never had Indian food, this and that. So, definitely wasn't the demigods or Krishna. But yeah, I mean, I grew up, my mother, and she went to Catholic school, high school and so on. So I was baptized Catholic as a baby. So growing up, we worship Jesus Christ, Mother Mary, So, any other question, comment? Yes, Bhajanarayan Swami, and then Jalatala.
She can go first.
Okay.
It's short, but it's silly.
If you want to say it, go for it.
In Atlanta, near the Krishna Life Temple, there's some graffiti. We were talking about what people worship. There's some graffiti on like the highway overpass, and it says, "God is a black man." And I was with a Prabhupada disciple, and she was just like, yeah, we need to stop and take a picture of that. They've got it right.
Yeah, and my, yeah, anyways, yes. Yes.
Yeah, I was going to say that, if we call for Krishna, Krishna will come. You were saying if you don't call, what do you expect? Okay. But, is it that simple? Krishna, I need help. Come now, help me. Come fast. Is that all it takes? Is there a quality of utterance?
Well, Srila Prabhupada gave an example. He said that you could train a bird to chant just like we have our Pavamana Prabhu, Hare Krishna Pavamana Prabhu. He has a bird, Śukadeva Gosvāmī, right? Or not Śukadeva Gosvāmī, Śukadeva, parrot. Parrots live a long time, by the way. They outlive their masters. But anyways, he trained his parrot to chant Hare Krishna, or Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, or so on. So I actually never saw it, but devotees here, they've seen. Yeah. So now Prabhupada gave an example that you may have a parrot that does that. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. But then when a cat comes, he doesn't chant Hare Krishna. It's a squawk, squawk, So Srila Prabhupada gave that example that similarly we could train ourselves chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, but it shouldn't be parrot-like. That when a danger comes, we just but we should call it to Krishna. There's one devotee who was in a car, and there's some, sometimes very dangerous actually cars, but there's some danger, some mild accident. But right when that was about to happen, what he did is he said, "Oh, Jesus Christ," which I mean, it's obviously much better than some of the things he could say, but you think that Krishna would come. But that's the answer. That, it's not any type of chanting, but there's a certain quality, and that quality has to be sincere and out of devotion, not like parrot-like. So.
Just as a quick one. The devotee that happened with, I'm not going to mention his name, but he was a sannyasi, and he was, they were driving home from a program, and his whole class had been, we need to take shelter, the holy name, always remember the holy name. The driver was in the British system, so the driver was there. He was sitting there and talking to some devotees from Germany in the back seat. So he was turning. And in India, they shut off the lights when they're not at an intersection. I think it's to save the bulb. That's how fine a margin they're working on. And so the taxi driver turned on the light when they came to the intersection, one of those roundabouts, and there was a truck coming right at them. And that's when he went into Mother Mary, full of grace, blessed art thou, and the fruit of thy womb, Jesus, went right into the rosary. Zoom. They went around, they were safe. So it was sort of quiet in the car, and nobody knew exactly what to say. And the sannyasi devotee who'd called out the rosary said, "What can I say? 12 years of Catholic schooling, they did a good job."
Interesting.
So just like you're saying, you can't be superficial.
Yeah. All right.
One final.
Yes.
What's really one of the things that's most interesting here is that Gajendra didn't call anyone. I mean, by name.
Yeah.
He just called. He described Krishna, and all the demigods. Well, he's not calling us, and not describing us. So finally, Hari came.
Yeah, it is interesting. Yeah. You don't hear about that so much.
So your point being that.
Well, I think it's the sincerity, and he kind of, he said, he didn't say I don't know his name, but he described only.
President of the United States.
Yeah.
Is there any misunderstanding that there's Trump?
No, that's the point. In other words, that it's unusual because usually, the Bhagavatam they call out the name like a Jamil and so forth, and then they come. But here he just called out, the one who obviously is created, and and all this. And so
Yeah, it's interesting. Like we see that in modern times, like sometimes devotees they say, oh well, they're just praying to God, but they're not exactly sure, who that is. So they say, God, just direct me. I need some direction, this and that. And then sometimes devotees, when telling their story, they how they came to Krishna consciousness, they say, oh well, right after that, I met this devotee, I got a book, this and that, and I was directed. So I guess you do hear about that sometimes, but yeah, it's interesting. You don't hear much about it in scripture, but here it's kind of interesting. All right, okay. Granted, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai.